Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast is part of the Real Shizmode. This audio podcast is part of the Shitstorm and Molecule. This audio podcast is part of the Bedlam and Storm. This audio podcast is part of the AHA 2026, and this audio podcast is part of a ZtormLabostix production. In this audio podcast, and as part of a second category under the AHA 2026. This audio podcast will look at in around the category the NHS England's chief scientific officers the chief scientific officers sort of award or nomination. Part of the award nomination for outstanding healthcare science service of the year, and this audio podcast will look at sort of efforts between the RPSG and KDARs Group for Kids social media platforms with ZtormLabostix Productions. So one of the first questions or aspects in around this nomination in this part of this category is summarize the service and its achievements. So as part of the response, it is encouraging patients and professionals is where efforts have been focused through the RPSG, which RPSG established in 2009, KDARs Group for Kids, which has been established in 2014, and ZtormLabostix Productions established in 2008. The scientific workforce can be confident knowing that evidence-based topics across laboratory practices and research are shared and highlighted. And as part of a second question in around this, and as part of this category is where it says to offer a description of the service delivery or transformation, innovations and service quality improvements. So in around the response to this is where the RPSG and KDARs are co-developed social media platforms that link evidence-based and scientific practices to support adults and pediatrics or young people suffering with varying forms of kidney disease. ZtormLabostix Productions was founded owing to how there is a lack of perception of scientist workforce amongst the lay public. Healthcare service users and the lay public can be confident that the essence behind the RPSG and KDARs and ZtormLabostix Productions is evidence-based, where through the social media platforms and the audio podcast channel that this provides opportunity for patients or healthcare service users, healthcare professionals, and students, academics, and researchers, as well as additional to healthcare service users themselves, to work collaboratively to bridge challenges and bridge healthcare inequalities. KDARs Group for Kids is the pediatrics or young people equivalent of the RPSG and supports those in varying forms of kidney disease from ages from neonate to 18 years of age. The RPSG and KDARs has provided a multidisciplinary team or MDT working perspectives between healthcare sectors and in various settings, research and industry. With RPSG and KDARs membership, within the RPSG and KDARs membership, there have been a number of keynote publications published over the years, including systematic reviews, literature reviews, mixed methodology publications, narrative reviews, and ZtormLabostix Productions has seen a number of audio podcasts that channel across social media, and the RPSG, KDARs, and ZtormLabostix Productions have been platforms for all. In around the third question in around this category is how has the service demonstrated outcomes and advantages for patients, families, and clinical service users. So between the two, in a part of the response to this particular question, between the social media platforms, there have been vibrant online communities that have wanted to drive to integrate kidney care awareness and research with an ethos surrounding evidence-based medicine and healthcare with scientific practices. The RPSG and KDARs portfolio highlights evidence-based practices between frontline and allied healthcare professionals, and where the focus to enhance patient services has surrounded health education, thus to increase health language and literacy. The RPSG and KDARs platforms have historically been for patients, families, and online healthcare service users that would otherwise be perceived as obsolete. ZtormLabostix Productions has looked to cover various scientific works through audio podcasts involving students and collaborators, and where efforts have also connected representation through working groups and panels, including NHS BT, Pediatric Kidney Advisory Group, NHSBT Pediatric Kidney Advisory Group, the British Association of Pediatric Nephrology, and the Kidney Research and Education Initiative. The outcomes and collaborative efforts through the RPSG and KDARs, and additionally with ZtormLabostix Productions have prompted efforts between kidney care scientific and pathology services for pediatrics and young people and adults with renal conditions, and various other important scientific topics emphasizing the importance of evidence-based practices, quality of care, and the use of online spaces and social media to share science with the public. As part of one of the another question in part of this category. Part of this category is, in what ways has there been a transformation of service and developed and that has developed the workforce. So as part of the response, to the particular question, so between the two social media platforms and ZtormLabostix Productions, there have been scientific focused efforts that have historically encouraged and supported healthcare service users, and aligned with this, there has been a science focused prompt to encourage our patient and healthcare professionals' involvement to work together in meeting mutual objectives regarding scientific practices, but primarily linked to the National Institute for Health Research, or NIHR, involvement framework, and additionally toward National Institute for Excellence, or NICE, NICE, or NICE remits. Again, many RPSG, KDARs, and ZtormLabostix production projects have informed the importance of healthcare service user involvement across scientific collaborations. The RPSG, KDARs, and ZtormLabostix Productions are platforms for all. And as part of additional question in this category is, how does the service contribute to healthcare science leadership and team development? So, as part of the response to the question, as part of the response in around this, the social media platforms and with ZtormLabostix Productions contribute to healthcare science leadership and team development because the collaborative efforts have continuously looked to link kidney care and scientific topics, bridging awareness into the public domain. At the same time, knowing that healthcare scientists have positioned and a strong focus on diagnostics, there has been a longitudinal effort to encourage joined up thinking. There has been a science focus throughout to encourage patient and healthcare or health professional involvement to work together in meeting mutual objectives regarding scientific practices. Scientific practice continues to be an ethos and commitment to patient care. And as part of another question, another question in as part of this category is how could the improvements be sustained, and what is the potential for transferability and scalability across healthcare science organizations or services? And as part of the response is the RPSG and KDARs StormLabostix Productions have ensured have ensured there are several social media platforms utilized to highlight the importance of scientific topics through collaborative efforts involving healthcare professionals, academics, and researchers to improve evidence-based practices. Additionally, there have been efforts that have looked to integrate patient care with a continuing ethos across kidney care and other essential scientific topics. The social media platforms with StormLabostix Productions encourage collaborations that are transferable and scalable across healthcare sciences and/or services. And finally, all of the other questions or bases in around this is in regards to those who have been involved in as part of this collaborative effort, and as part of this particular category. So for the purposes of this audio podcast, the teams and colleagues and collaborators will not be named or mentioned, mentioned within the audio podcast, but the audio podcast in on social media, there will be some sense of acknowledgement. There will be sense of acknowledgement of those who actually have been involved in sort of indirectly, directly as well as indirectly, and in on social media as part of this particular audio podcast. So that draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast as part of the Real Shitstorm. This audio podcast as part of the Shitstorm Molecule. This audio podcast as part of the Bedlam Storm. This audio podcast as part of the AHA 2026. And this audio podcast as part of a StormLabostix production.